first reading vlog. Reading vlogs are some of my favorite videos to watch. I just think they're so personal. They just feel so natural, and that's why I go to YouTube, just to watch people living their lives and doing normal things. And I decided I just want to be a part of it. So that's what we're doing today. Today is Monday, it's about 10:30, so let's get started. So this week's reading is really just going to be about finishing up a lot of different books. I have about 4 books that I have half read, and I'm not sure why I haven't finished anything recently, but my goal this week is to just finish off these books, get them out of the way so I can start fresh next week with some new books. So yeah, so the first book that I'm working on finishing this week is Six of Crows. I am a little less than halfway through this book. So far, I understand the merit of this book. I think I'm just not really that invested in the plot. It's really well written and it is interesting, but not really identifying with the characters yet. Yeah, so hopefully it gets better. So I'm going to be working on finishing this one. The second book that I have going is The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest by Stieg Larsson. This one, same. I'm also a little bit less than halfway through. I had put this one down for about a week after about 150 pages because at that point I really started to feel like the plot was just at a standstill. It hadn't really gone anywhere, and so far, and actually still at this point, I'm about 250 pages in, and not a whole lot has happened. A lot of the characters are just kind of in a lull after the events of The Girl Who Played with Fire. They're all just kind of in a regroup mode, and this regroup mode has been going on for 250 pages now, and nothing really that interesting has happened. I am hoping this gets better, but right now I'm feeling like this is going to be a really drawn out and long conclusion to something that could have just been tacked on to the end of The Girl Who Played with Fire. So yeah, this is another one. I'm hoping it gets better because I really did like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think I liked it when I was in college, and I did enjoy The Girl Who Played with Fire. I thought it was exciting, and yeah, so I'm hoping this one picks up and it ends up being just as exciting. The third book I have going is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I just kept seeing Twisted Lies. Yeah, that's the new one. I just kept seeing it everywhere, and I've just never read any of them, so I decided to start the series. So, I'm only a couple of chapters into that. So far, it's okay. I think I'll talk about more of that later when I get a little further in. So for today, I have a video I need to edit. I have some other just non-YouTube work stuff that I have to take care of. So yeah, that's the plan for today. Gotta edit a video, gotta do some work stuff, gotta finish the house chores, and I'll probably try to make progress in one of my books. I'm not sure which one yet, but yeah, I will update you when I have an update, when I've read some more pages of books and I have more of an opinion on them. So yeah, it's gonna be a great week. We're off to a great start, and I will update you later. Bye for now. Progress. Power just went out. Perfect. So I'm sitting here in the dark for that, but now that I think about it, being a book reader when the power goes out actually is not that bad. Back in my never reading a book days, if the power ever went out, I would be like, oh no, what am I to do? There's no internet. But now I'm just like, well, I'll read a book. It's gonna be great. Actually, I do have a bunch of reading to do, and I plan to do some reading today anyway. So this is actually perfect. I won't be wasting my time browsing the internet and being on YouTube watching nothing. So maybe this is actually going to help my productivity today.
a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors.
Morning, everyone. So as you can see, the power is back, so that's great. Didn't get around to filming anymore yesterday. I just got busy after I filmed the intro, but I didn't read anything either. I did a ton of work yesterday, and I didn't read anymore. Didn't even read in the evening. I was just so tired. So today, I really need to make progress on at least one of the books. Actually, I'm hoping to finish at least one of them, probably Six of Crows. Just because Six of Crows, since it's YA, it's a little bit less heavy than the girl. What is its name? I can't remember. The girl who kicked the hornet's nest. Also, if you can hear a noise, the neighbors are cutting trees, and they're like 5 feet away. So, yeah, so that is the plan for today. I'm going to try to finish Six of Crows. I did actually make some progress while the power was out, so that was good. Yeah, so that's really the plan for today. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. Hopefully a more interesting day for this vlog. Okay, see ya. Friday morning. Things did not go as well as planned on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. Things got away from me a little bit. I have so much to do today. I'm so backed up. Did actually finish Six of Crows yesterday. So a little later on today, once I'm completely dressed, I will fill you in on my thoughts on Six of Crows. Okay, so I guess I'm going to finish my coffee as if I haven't had enough already, you can probably tell. So I will talk to you later, hopefully when I'm in a little bit of a calm mood. Hello, how are you doing? So I finished Six of Crows and I wanted to talk about it now because I have some thoughts about this book. Just a little spoiler, well, not for the book, I won't spoil the book. If you just want my quick thoughts on this book, I thought it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but I see the merit in it. And I can see why a ton of people enjoyed it. So if you want to hear more about my thoughts, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Six of Crows now. Six of Crows follows a group of 6 underprivileged teenagers as they go on a mission to take out a bad guy who allegedly created a dangerous drug. So this story basically follows them as they go on this adventure to track down this bad guy who is on this island in a prison. So the drug in question that he supposedly created is something that affects the Grisha. They're basically witches. They have magical powers that can do various useful things, but because of this magic, they are treated as somewhat of an other species. They are humans, but they are looked down upon and they're treated as if there's something wrong with them, yet they're basically kept as slaves and utilized for their powers because their powers are useful and they serve a larger purpose, but they themselves are looked down upon. Basically kept like livestock. What part of American history does this remind you of? So the narrative of the story does follow an ensemble cast. All 6 of the main characters are, well, 5 of the main characters are major players, and I think I've mentioned before that I do enjoy ensemble casts just because the world doesn't revolve around one person, and I like to have the storylines of multiple different characters all happening at the same time because it just makes things more dynamic and you can see how multiple perspectives are like at play and how they're relating to one another. So the structure of this book does give at least 5 of the characters their own chapters. So POV wise, we do hear from most of the characters. There's only one of them, I can't actually remember, but I believe he doesn't have his own POV chapters, but that's because later I think it's revealed that this character is basically there for one specific purpose, and throughout the story he has less of a role. Overall, I do like the concept of that it like switches between all the different characters, but in this particular case, I didn't feel like it made that much of a difference. In Six of Crows, I don't think the chapters' voices were done quite as well. It almost didn't matter. I actually kind of stopped paying attention to which character's perspective it was in each particular chapter, just because they all felt kind of the same anyway. The voice felt the same, and it was all written in third person anyway. So I like the concept, but I don't think that worked that well in this particular book. But I still enjoy it, and I would like more books to be written that way. Out of the 6 main characters, Kaz is the main character, and he's the one that gets this whole story rolling. He is the catalyst that gets everything started. So, Kaz, I wanted to like him. He came from a rough background, and you just feel bad for him. Parents were killed, and then his brother got smallpox. His brother got some sort of disease, and he died young too. And so he was alone. And so I really wanted to empathize with him and feel bad for him. But he kind of gave me middle manager vibes, if you know what I mean. You probably don't know what I mean. Basically, what I mean is, you know, the middle managers that are like drunk on authority, but they don't exactly like responsibility? Those are kind of the vibes I was getting from Kaz. He really liked to boss the other people around, but then when it came to he screwed up, he like tried to blame it on everybody else, and he just kept making the same mistakes over and over in like flashback sections. Just to get to know his character, we saw some of the mistakes he made when he was younger, and then it comes back to the present and he was making the same mistakes again. So it felt like he just wasn't really learning and wasn't progressing. So he was a difficult character to empathize with. As for the other characters, 3 of them were, I think, important, and the other 2 were less so. So the other characters besides Kaz were Nina, Matthias, and Inej. They were somewhat important, and then the other 2, Jesper and Waylon. Inej is basically she's essentially a sex worker, and she was someone who was somewhat purchased or managed by Kaz. And he has a strange dynamic with her, because it's like it's intended that there's some sort of romance between them, but he doesn't really treat her very well, and sometimes I wonder what she sees in him too. There's an implied romance there, but it's awkward, so that didn't work very well. Besides that, she is on the team because she can climb walls or something, and so she's useful for that. The most interesting dynamic, I think, was between Nina and Matthias. Nina is a Grisha, and Matthias is part of a faction or group that are basically witch hunters. So it's like they kind of have a Romeo and Juliet thing going on. They like each other, but they're not supposed to be together, and so they kind of love each other, hate each other. It's interesting. The other two, we have Jesper and Waylon. They were both less developed characters, so they were in general less interesting. The problem I had with two of them was throughout the book there were constant references to the romance between Nina and Matthias and Inej and Kaz. There was also implied romantic tension between Jesper and Waylon, but it was not explored nearly as much as the other two heterosexual pairings. So I felt like they were a little bit of like a token queer pairing. Like it was just they were paired up just because there was no one else to pair them with, and they wanted to be paired with someone. I don't know. I just felt like it was a little bit like a token. It was just kind of there. So it's not that I didn't appreciate the representation, but it definitely wasn't good representation. The story really is very plot driven, but I can see that the author did really try to make an effort to make sure that the characters were well developed and it wasn't all plot and no character, and we know I don't like that. So I appreciate the author's work in making the characters as interesting as they were. Kaz, as difficult as he was to relate to and somewhat unlikable as he was, he had a good amount of backstory, and we really got to understand where he's coming from, how he ended up here, why he is bitter the way he is. And yeah, so I thought the characters were actually really well developed. In terms of a complete arc, most of them don't really have a defined arc, but I know that there is at least one more book in this series. I can't hold it against the book or the author that the characters haven't completed their arc, because I know that the series isn't over. So I may read that book in the future because I am a little bit curious about where these characters will go. In terms of the plot line, I'm really not very interested in the plot line. I don't care. But I am interested in the characters. There's a pretty deep and interesting cast of characters here. So overall, the tone of the book was quite dark. It wasn't happy pretty much at all. Even the moments when the characters were like having somewhat emotionally intimate moments should be a happy moment. It really wasn't. It just had this kind of sad overtone over all of it, and throughout a lot of the book, the emotion that the characters were emoting the most, it's like they were just really frustrated and stressed the entire time. And that made me a little bit frustrated and stressed too. So if you're stressed, maybe this wouldn't be quite the best book because it might make you more stressed. But I can't blame the characters for having these emotions, just because there were a lot of dark things that were happening in this story, and a lot of actually just really relevant themes that are prevalent in today's society. So in that sense, it was a great commentary on what is happening just today. And I mean, I'm frustrated. A lot of us are scared and bitter and frustrated just about the state of the world, and so you can't really blame them for being sad and bitter and frustrated when they are up against just predatory capitalism and the disgusting accumulation of wealth, greed. What else? Also for Nina, she's facing racism and classism just because of who she is, and she's being oppressed and treated like a second-class citizen, even though she's being used for her abilities. And I just can't imagine. So overall, I mean, I really thought it was a good book. It's not my personal favorite. I'm slowly learning that I think fantasy is just not really going to be my favorite genre. But out of all of the fantasies that I read, I thought this really was one of the best. It had an interesting plot line. It feels relevant. The characters are interesting and well developed, and there are a lot of different characters in different situations. They're not just all the same, and so there's, in addition to having characters that are at at odds with the conflict and the plot line, they're also somewhat at odds with each other because they have different views. And so that also adds tension and makes it interesting as well. I enjoy books that feel relevant and feel like they are able to comment on what's going on in the world while also still making it fun and accessible, because sometimes it's just hard to watch the news all the time and really internalize and comprehend what is happening in today's world with what, especially in the US, like what have we done? How have we ended up in this situation, in this society? The divide just keeps getting wider and wider. And that's what's happening in this book. And they're fighting against it. And they're fighting oppression. And so even if Kaz isn't the most likable guy, I hope he can use his middle manager skills to bring the bad guys to justice and help save the world. I mean, such a tall order. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good book. I would recommend it to anyone who likes fantasy. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Six of Crows. Besides that, I have also been still working on Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest here. I think on Monday, I think I mentioned that I was like a little less than halfway through. I've moved a little bit, not a whole lot. I read a little bit yesterday, but to be honest, it's slow going. It's dense, and I'm not sure if I said anything on Monday, but really my thoughts haven't changed much. I think I have already mentioned that it just feels like so much information. There's just so much info dumping going on. There's so many facts, and there's so many different players and storylines that are all going on at the same time, but none of them are in really motion yet. They're all still like in the planning phases. Like there's all these different characters everywhere, and they're all like planning their things, and nobody has done anything really that interesting yet. At this point, Elizabeth is still in the hospital, so she hasn't moved. Yeah, nothing really has been figured out. So I was reading yesterday, and I was noticing there was just some really long sections about details that just feel very irrelevant. I think, for instance, there was one section, it was a whole 2 paragraphs, like a half a page, about a character's emails, about what, like the spam emails that she found in her inbox. And I was like, okay, I don't know if this is going to become relevant, all of these whatever emails, but like, do I really need to know all of the spam emails that are in her inbox? Like, I'm sorry, I just don't see the relevance of all of these details. There was also an entire section about the magazine. So Blomkist is working at a magazine, and in addition to the story that they were going to break in the last book that basically set this whole conflict in motion, they're also a working magazine and they have other stories going. And so they spent several pages discussing one of these other stories that is about toilets and the fact that it's a big conspiracy that these toilets are being made in Thailand but are being sold for a higher price as if they're being made by a company in Sweden, and they're lying that the toilets are high quality because they're made in Sweden, but really they're made in Thailand. And I'm like, okay, I mean, this book was written in 2004, so maybe that was more of a shock back then, but these days, that's just normal. Like, everything is made in China or Thailand, and the quality is fine. Oftentimes it's the same thing. We know things are made over there. Like, what is the big deal? But still, regardless if I wasn't shocked by this revelation, the fact that they spent several pages discussing this, I was just like, why are we discussing this other article? That was one of the more like erroneous examples that I'm going to keep that in my mind. And I'm going to go through this entire book, and I will let you know when I finish this book if that entire section about the article about the toilets is relevant. And if not, I am going to stick, so right now I'm going to make a prediction that I think this book could have been half the length. It is 658 pages of small print, and I mean, at the rate that there's so many details, I feel like this could easily just be cut to a 300-page book. So, that's where I am with The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. I wouldn't say I'm regretting deciding to finish this series. I'm actually not sure why. Why have I put myself through this? And this is just one of those, and I am not DNFing this. I've made the commitment. I've already DNF'd one book this month. I'll tell you about that later, but this is not going to be a second one. So, that is my reading update for now. I still have a ton of work to do. I'm so behind. I may have given a rambly update this morning. I don't even know what I said. I just know I just like tanked my coffee. But I didn't do as well with my first vlog as I was hoping I would. I didn't do as many updates. So let's get back to work. Hello again. It's a little while later. Oh my gosh. I'm just delirious at this point. It's a little while later, and I think I am just going to sign off this vlog today. I think I'm just going to sign off the vlog for this week. It's just going to be a working afternoon for me. I'm going to try to finish as much work as I can before the weekend. I want to also finish as much of The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest as I can before the weekend, because I think I have to return it to the library on Sunday, and I already renewed it once and I can't renew it again. So if I don't finish it, I'm going to have to read the ebook, and I mean, reading the paper book is already difficult enough with such wordiness. I can't imagine scrolling through an ebook with that. So I must finish that. I am determined. I'm on a mission. I am laser focused. So I don't want to give you anxiety. I probably might give you anxiety if I continue to vlog in this mental state. So I hope my first vlog was somewhat interesting. I promise I'll try to do better next week. So that is it for this vlog. I hope it was somewhat interesting, and I will see you next week. Bye!